Pattern has emerged, and since round 4, David and Morales have swapped wins back and forth. But David's poor showing at Road America has meant that Morales now regains the championship lead. The scant 5 points between them leaves no room for error. So James will certainly be hoping he can carry on the pattern, at least for this round, and get back on the top step. We'll see if he can, as well as we get ready to watch round 9 of the PRL GT4 Clubsport series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Ossian Puhaka. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Barcelona will be seeing slightly faster cars soon in the shape of Formula 1 in the real world, but these little GT4s should put on a good show. Let's head down to our track guy to learn a little bit more about this place. Welcome to Circuit de Barcelona. The home of the Spanish Grand Prix for nearly 30 years, it's easy to forget that this is a relatively recently built track in Europe. It's known for its long, sweeping corners and hosts the highest level of open-wheel and motorcycle racing. Placing an emphasis on a good aerodynamic setup with high downforce cars, it's often overlooked that it offers plenty of overtaking for lower-tier racing as well. In fact, most don't take into account that this adaptable track has 5 different layouts to choose from. These range from the nearly 3-mile-long Grand Prix version to the minuscule 1-mile club circuit. Because of the pit straight being the longest acceleration zone, Elf is the most likely spot for drivers to get it past them. After that, your next hope might be into Lacaja, which, depending on which layout you use, could be a sharpened set of 2 turns or one long hairpin with an opening radius. In the early 2000s, a chicane was added close to the end of the lap, but the old Europe car corner can still be run. The Spanish fans have some gorgeous views from the many hills dotted along the track. And with the international fame this place has built over time, it's no wonder they're almost always full come race day. Well, while being a pretty well-known circuit worldwide, it seems, Ozzy, that this place is sometimes a little bit maligned by fans. But it certainly is a tough circuit, I'll give it that.
Yeah, Joe, I mean, it has that reputation because in Formula 1, where most people know this track from, it's used a lot in testing and was used even more back in the olden days when testing was unlimited. It's 4.6 kilometers long, 2.8 miles. And some people think of it as boring as a result because, frankly, when you know the circuit by the back of your hand, it's hard to make a difference. It's hard to find that edge over one another. But here on iRacing, and especially with these cars, the long main straight and the twisting technical nature of it should make for some excellent racing. And hey, it's not as bad as they make it out to be.
Yeah, we've seen some great races here in the past here on the channel. But before we get to the racing, let's remind you that the GT4 Clubsport series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Today's broadcast is also brought to you by SimRacing Canada. Pay less, get more with SimRacing Canada's custom aluminum rig build for everyone, from the starters to the pros. Your vision, our solution. Find out more at SimRacingCanada.com. Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. So I mentioned it a little bit in the intro about the championship, the Drivers' Championship, shifting around now with the last round. And Morales moves himself up to the top spot with James David falling down into second, but he's only back by 5. So now things get interesting from here to the end of the season. Palacio a little ways back, kind of on his own, which is really how his racing has been all season. Hasn't had many people to fight with and has just been racking up podiums, but can't catch the top 2. Daly and Tremblay round out your top 5. Again, a little bit distance from one another, including Julio Palacio. Though they are not locked in, it's going to take some major events for them to switch around from here to the end of the season. We also have the Teams Championship. Ozzy, why don't you run us down that?
Well, Davidson Motorsports Porsche still in the lead of that one, but only by 9 points. So Davidson Motorsports Porsche with James David and Orno Chenet is being chased by team of Tremblay, Espinosa, and Palacio. In P number 3, it's SRM Green, NinjaTrader in 4th, and We Racing in 5th place of the team championship. And look at the top 2, just 9 points between them. Isn't that close or something?
Yeah, seems like it's really mimicking what we're seeing at the top of the driver's sheet as well. Now, let's go down how exactly this race will unfold, at least in terms of the framework of it. We are in round 9 out of 10. So this is the penultimate round. This is probably where David does need to strike back. The 2 different makes of cars they can choose from are both GT4 class, BMW and a Porsche. And they have 45 minutes to run this race. It is an open setup, but you can expect 1 pit stop because they've limited the fuel cells compared to what the real cars are able to run. And they do have some penalties with a lot of the paved runoff and room that you have around here. It could be easy to start racking those up and wind up with a drive-through or even get disqualified. Now, you saw the bonus points there at the bottom. Those will likely come into play with how tight things are. We'll talk a little bit about how they get those in a moment. In the meantime, make sure you try and advertise with us if you're trying to get attention for your company, because GSRC offers a wealth of options to help you get your branding seen on a platform with over 1 million monthly impressions. If your organization is looking for a global audience to advertise with, look no further than GSRC. Follow the link in the description below to learn more. Right now, David does have the provisional pole after taking 1 lap, and I think he's just about to do 1 more. Yes, indeed, goes half a second quicker, which was critical because the driver in front of him went faster, Julio Palacio as well. But it's, wow, it's actually 7/10 between David and Palacio right now. So I'm trying to find, Ozzy, do you see where Morales is here?
Morales. He's in 16th position right now. Diego Morales, car number 22. He's in fact on track right now, just coming to the back straight, if I'm not mistaken much. And yeah, he hasn't had the best of qualifying efforts so far, but still got 8.5 minutes left, and that's not the back straight, that's that's Seat, where he is coming to right now. So getting my Catalonian knowledge in order. But yeah, he's not the best of qualifying so far, but he still has time to improve. Certainly, though, a bit of a surprise to not see him start off with an absolute burner of lap.
Yeah, we'll certainly want to hope that he doesn't get held up by traffic out here. Granted, it's not the biggest of fields, as I believe we've got 24 cars who have signed up so far tonight. It comes down what effectively works as the backstretch here, now into La Caija. And this is the Grand Prix version. This is what the F1 cars run, so it's the sharper version of that hairpin. It weaves its way into Bonk Sabadell, and of course, probably one of the less loved portions of this track, into the final chicane that they added a little more than a decade ago.
Yeah, sorry, I just threw up in my mouth a little. No, it's. I can understand why they did it. I can totally understand it because, as you can see, it's very tight. It's a very technical section now. It used to be a high-speed flowing sector, reminding me a lot about Brands Hatch in those 3 fast right-handers. Now it's a tighter sector, but what it does is it creates an overtaking opportunity onto the main straight with high downforce cars, because it's much easier to follow through the final chicane rather than 2 high-speed corners.
Now we're on Byron Daly as he comes down to the timing line, which is quite early on the straightaway. He goes quickest yet, 57.4. But it looks like it does not improve his position. He stays in 14th with a ways to make up to those ahead of him. Let's see if we got any of our front runners coming close to the line. Actually, James David is heading around New Holland. He still holds the pole at a 54.5. Looks like he's on an outlap, though, because that timer was slow, and indeed, that one did not count. So he gets going on another hot lap with a couple more minutes to try and improve, as we now switch to Matt Odell, who has yet to set a time. And I guess I should clarify, Matt Odell, not Matt Odell. I think that's not. Oh no, it is. There is an apostrophe in there. Excuse me. It just isn't showing up on our screen.
Yeah, do you remember the Irish Formula One driver a couple of years ago, Tim O'Glock?
I like that. I'm sure he's heard that joke many a time, though.
Oh yes.
Cristelli now down and across, and he does not improve. Check out Day. Raymond has just this last chicane to go, the RACC chicane, and into New Holland. He sits in third and is less than a tenth back from Palacio, so he could put himself onto the front row if that counted. He was way off the course there. Not sure if it was within bounds. If it wasn't, nope, it was not. That was discounted. Oh, and he gets bumped down to fourth because guess who finally found some pace? Morales on the front row.
Yeah, Morales finally coming to form here. Diego Morales with a 154.6, only 1.5 tenths away from James David, who is on a warpath right now. He wants to improve, and it's about time he comes awake in this race too. As we're watching these guys come across the line and try to improve their times, it's pretty close up front. And Joe, it's been the same story in qualifying as it has been all season. The top two separated from rest of the pack, but those guys look tight. And more importantly, Palacio isn't all by his lonesome in P number 3 anymore.
Yeah, Raymond Day looks like he's going to give him a run for his money if his race pace matches up to that qualifying pace. Unless things change here in the final 4 minutes. We're still waiting on about 3 cars to set times, but I don't see Philippe Mignon or Hotham on the track. It does look like they're in the qualifying session, in the race session right now, but they, for whatever reason, have not elected to come out to set any times. Matt Odell is indeed trying to get his first time down. Here you see the Canadian, a little bit of a bobble out of New Holland. First two didn't count. This one doesn't count either, so Matt's running out of time here. This could get a little bit tight for him. Now, one thing that I did notice is we saw, I think it was Daly, ducking into pit lane. They don't have to do that here in qualifying. They can just press escape and have the car towed. So I wonder if he's practicing with that pit entry, which I can't imagine it's just flat out in there, is it? Or can you just put your foot to the floor coming through there?
Yeah, I mean, you can come flat out to the pit entry. Oh, and meanwhile, we have a new pole sitter, and that's Diego Morales with a 154.3. It's not quite flat, it's quite tight. It's easy to do David Coulthard here on pit entry, but yeah, Joe, Diego Morales now. We talked about how he struggled early on in the qualifying, no struggles anymore. And now the ball's in David's court. Can he beat the man called Diego, who has become the Goliath?
He's coming around to see if he can do it right now because James David is into the last chicane. 2 tenths to make up. That's actually a decent margin, even though it is a little bit of a longer lap around here. So the Canadian swings it around out of the final corner, very wide. Is he going to have this one discounted? It'll have a couple more tries. Yes, indeed. That one gets a blank lap time for him. Oh, boy. He's trying. You can not say that he's resting on his laurels with this second place, that's for sure.
No. He wants that pole position, absolutely. And he's right now, I believe, on his 3rd flying lap. Yes, No, it's even more than that. He's been out there for a while, actually. I wonder how much more fuel he has in that car. Because, as said, he has been out there for quite a while. And usually in qualifying, granted, these tires don't go off immediately, but they will start going off. So it's not like you can just put 15 minutes of fuel into the car and go at it. No, you need to be a little bit more strategic about it. And usually, Joe, it's roughly 2 stints per qualifying session. So you're not using that much fuel. But James David certainly feeling the pressure with Morales taking the pole here.
Well, that's Morales on screen. Ahead of him, our 5th place in the points. Goes quicker. Tremblay improves his time, but he's still stuck down in 8th. What about Morales? He does go faster yet again, a 54.3 that time, but it is very, very tight. Actually, no, it was the same time down to the 1,000th of his previous. Wow.
It was. We've seen On the Iberian Peninsula, we've seen a Formula One dead heat between three drivers in Jerez. Can we see Diego Morales now do three exactly the same times here at Barcelona? I highly doubt it, but that's some clockwork precision by Diego there, and certainly showing off that the first one, it wasn't no fluke.
We've seen drivers get the same time between each other, but not the same driver back to backs at the fastest lap like that. As James David tries one more, and it's not quicker, even though this one counted. Now he is on the last chance that he has to try and improve his time. We switch over to Cochran instead.
Yeah, I'll be keeping my eyes peeled on David. You guys watch the other drivers come across the line in case they can improve. Palacio 54.8, he's in P number 3, so he has improved as well, taking a bit of a gap between himself and Janae. They in 5th place still, and those guys are rather close together. Tremblay here, actually, next one coming across the line. Joe, how does it look for the BMW driver?
Well, right now it's looking decent. At least I expect so, because he's got Morales still chasing, and he doesn't look significantly closer, though. He's going to be the first one to take the checkered flag. So as Jean-Marc Tremblay comes out of New Holland, he's trying to improve on that 55.7 that he did last time by. What's it going to be? Can he go higher than 8th? He does go faster. It's a 55.6, and he gets up to 7th. Following him, it's Morales, and he's not going to do it 3 times in a row, but it was awful close. He was only 300ths off of his previous lap time.
That's insane when you come to think of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And meanwhile, we're watching these guys, and now I think that's Kenny Rodriguez, on the final chicane. He's trying to navigate that well and does it too. A couple of drivers opting to take the title line around her, meaning they will go up on 2 wheels. And Rodriguez instead just betting it all in the final corner. Can he find improvement? Can Rodriguez?
Nope,
had
he does
a decent
not.
qualifying.
Ted Lowendick wrecks out on the final corner.
And David,
in the meantime, James David's going to abandon his last lap. So he doesn't think he can take that pole away. The battle peters out because I don't think we have anybody who looks to be close enough that could challenge him. We've just got Cochran, Margula, Kruemans, and that's it. Just those last 3 drivers.
Well, I don't know. Margula has a chance here. He decides to finish this lap, and they got a bit of cloud cover on the last sector, so he could find improvement in terms of time. 54.4, he does try. 55.4 rather. He does find improvement, but not enough to gain positions.
If he stays put in P6, that's going to be the last of our field here in the qualifying. So let's go through our starting order for today. Diego Morales, he gets a bonus point for the pole. Sick of that number 3 after a while. And Arnaud Genet starts in 4th, followed by Raymond Day in the 5th position. Fyodor Margula starts in 6th. He's followed by Jean-Marc Tremblay in 7th. And then you've got Kenny Rodriguez with a great qualifying up to 8th place. Ted Lowendick will be P9, and David Cristelli rounds out your top 10.
Christopher Richards, 11th place. Spencer Semkovic starting alongside him in 12th. Mark Fall, Sean Cochrane in row number 7. Brett Barrett, Aaron Lay, row number 8. Byrne Daly and Frank Roymans, row number 9. And Brian Matthews and Gary Schilling rounding out the top 20 with Sean Foss, Glenn Bowen, Philip Magnan, Brian Hodham, and Matt Odell in your 25 driver field. And Joe, it's gonna be a cracker. Gonna tell you right away. I think it's gonna be another cracker of a race.
Well, we've got a couple cars that did not qualify as we take a look at the weather here. Currently 32 degrees Celsius on the track. That's 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So honestly, a little warm, but nothing outrageous, especially compared to some that we've seen here in Spain in the virtual world at sometimes on the channel. Does look like we should have all drivers gridding up because, again, I do not see anybody missing from our current session. But unusual decision from some of those drivers to decide not to qualify. This isn't typically the sort of track where you go for that sort of strategy.
No, and I almost wonder if it's been more like, testing out the race setups and maybe just unable to complete a good flying lap, because this is one of the modern tracks where you can easily go a little bit too wide and just can't find the consistency to put in a good lap, and then deciding, you know what, I just want to start from the back and avoid all the mayhem. And going back to the weather briefly, if I may, 20 degrees Celsius air temp, 32 degrees track temp. It's colder on the virtual 8th of August in Spain than it was in Finland on the 8th of August. Because I was in middle of the Finland, in middle Finland, not even southern Finland, in middle Finland, and it was 27 degrees Celsius, bright and sunny, and we spent all day in a tent. That was fun.
Sometime I'll have to pick your brain on what the differences are between the accents of middle, northern, and southern Finland, because I'm sure if it's anything like the States, there's got to be at least some variance there. But
Not
I
much.
digress.
You digress. But in northern Finland, you just add an hard H in every other syllable of your word. Like, southern Finland, you go to sauna, and in northern Finland, you go to sauna. No, that doesn't
Can't
work,
even
but
do it yourself,
you
yeah.
get the point. You get the point. I got myself in a pickle, almost like a cucumber.
Well, hopefully we won't have drivers that are in that sort of trouble. Hopefully they'll all be smoothed down into turn one, because we'll find out soon how they're going to handle this. Might be a little bit spread apart coming through this last chicane, depending on if the drivers want to try and stay double file. So here comes the Porsche pace car. And yeah, a few of them are going to try and get a little single file here, then try and regroup back up, including our front end second row. Now they're getting through. Everybody behind them trying to catch up in time, get nice and packed up. But the green flag is out, and Diego Morales is off like a shot down the front stretch into Elf. It was a good start for David, but not so for Palacio. He's already got Genet behind him, looking around the outside. It's getting rather single file behind them. And in fact, Genet looks like he backs out of it even before they get to the braking zone. A very timid start for the front of the field. In fact, all the way down, this is incredibly spread out.
Yeah, it was spread out from the back. There were some shenanigans on the pace lap, and as a result of that, a couple of drivers got further back than they intended. But that probably saved the field from a bit of trouble into the chicane, and as a result, they head single file onto the middle portion of lap number 1. And, well, it's calm before the storm, as they say.
It does look a little bit stormy, at least in the track, until you get those little glimpses of sky. We're off in the distance, it's certainly pretty sunny, but the cloud cover continues to hover over the surface of the track as they come through Vert now. And Morales leads the way by about half a second over David, and the same distance back to Palacio. Indeed, you only start to get a train after Genet, where he's being chased by Margula, Lowendick, Tremblay, Rodriguez, Day. It goes on for a while.
Yeah, it does go on for a fair bit, so you can really see some movement already being made. Margula deciding if he wants to defend onto the hairpin, deciding against it. Lowendick behind him, and Tremblay as well. Tremblay lost a couple of positions in the start. Lowendick gaining a couple, and then you have Genet and Margula right in front of him. So it's been a great start actually from Ted Lowendick, because he's, if I'm not seeing this wrong, he's all the way up to 6th place.
Yeah, Lowendick is indeed there in P6, trying to see if he can keep up to the back of Margula as our leaders now come onto the pit straight one more time. You talked about the good exit, and I think that David got that. He's got a very good run here coming down the front stretch, and already Morales is defending. He covers off the inside into Elf. David trying to outbrake him, but it looks like he's not able to hold it side by side.
No, he's not, and the reason for the good exit was that Morales went absolutely sideways on the final corner. He had an absolute initial D moment there, but manages to catch it and stays ahead of David for now. David trying it on the inside into turn number 3. Can he pull it off? No. Morales braking later on the outside. Is he gonna outbrake himself? No, he is not. David still side by side here, Joe.
He might have it, but he's gonna have to go the long way around Seat. Breaking deep into the corner, Morales is going to make him work for it indeed. Oh my goodness, somehow he finds the grip offline. Too wide through Vert, though, does not usually go well. I think David knows that. He finally backs out of it.
Yeah, he backs out of it looking for a better exit. Instead, onto the back straight, he may get it. Morales just grabbed the curb there. So, onto this fast right-hander, very different lines there. And a very different line from David. I don't know why David didn't take a wider line there. He ruined his exit with that one and lets Morales lead for now. But these two guys going half a lap side by side at Barcelona. Who said this track wasn't great for racing? It's epic for racing.
And this did help Palacio run them down a little bit, but he's not quite in a position to attack at the moment. We now hop on board with Morales looking from the gearbox back at James David. I mentioned earlier, these two have been going back and forth on wins since round 4 at Mosport. Morales won there, and then it went David, then back to Morales and David, and Morales once again. Diego's trying to break that string. This one was much better coming onto the front stretch, and I don't think David's really got the attempt that he had last time.
No, and it was interesting to see on the final chicane how David just cut the left side of the curb more aggressively than Morales. And look out for that, because these guys can damage these cars very easily if you cut the curb too much. We have seen how sensitive they are to damage earlier on, especially body contact, but also curb contact. So he needs to keep an eye out for that.
Half an eye on this myself, and also watching Lowendick, Tremblay, Rodriguez, and Day. We're in a nice little fight for P6. We mentioned it earlier. Ooh, actually, that almost came to a head just now because Rodriguez nearly ran into Jean-Marc Tremblay's bumper. Had to take some evasive action. There you see him on screen. That's being led by Lowendick in the number 172 BMW.
Yeah, Lowendick's heading this a little bit of a train there. He's lost ground to Margula and Genet, and now he has to prove that he belongs in this position he gained on lap 1. Tremblay, Rodriguez, and Day right behind him. And Kenny Rodriguez, I know it's early, knocking on wood here, but he's having another great race, and here he tries an overtake to Tremblay around the outside onto the back straight. They are teammates. Can he pull it off? It's gonna be tight.
Oh no!
Oh no! That's far. And that was Raymond Day coming in from nowhere, and no other explanation than him missing the braking point completely.
It almost looks like he got distracted watching the fight in front of him and then forgot to watch out for his own marker. Yeah, he just completely blows that, and unfortunately, it seems that Tremblay came out the worse for it with a hard hit to the back and then slams into the Armco. Both of those drivers are still running at least. The question is how much speed is left in those machines. Oh, and we got to go back to the leaders. Sorry. It looks like Morales. Oh, no! David gets into another tussle, and he ran into Morales as well. That is Palacio, who contacted him. Parts flying, and still he gets turned around. Morales finds himself off the track. He couldn't hold on to it. Palacio now has the lead. Genet into second, and Margula to third. What a development.
Oh, and David Slow run the outside as we go to the replay as well. So I think David has to retire. That's a little bit too far away, but that was a very clumsy contact. And it all got started, I believe, it was James David switching his lanes under the braking zones, and you do that. Yeah, and here we go. You can see him getting a run, and he changes his lanes right into the path of Julio Palacio. And I'm sorry, that's not Julio's fault in any way, shape, or form. That's just James David forgetting to check his mirrors, and it can happen so easily when you're in a fight like that.
My goodness. And is that David? Yeah, that is David on screen right there. He's trying to limp it back. Remember, they have a spare car, so he can try to recover here, but it's going to be similar to what we saw at Road America, where he can only hope for so much. Where is Morales? Morales is still himself.
Yeah, he's limping a lot. He's rear wing attacking, and he's got damage on his rear end. We know how significant that can be, and he doesn't look like a happy camper at all. I wonder if he's coming into the pit lane. Yeah, he has to. He has no traction in his rear either. So he's just trying to make it through the last sector, going very wide here. Gonna be caught up by Richards, Semkovic, and Barrett as well. So I'd be very surprised to not see him turn into the lane right here. No, he's keeping going. He's keeping going for some reason, and he's gonna lose a lot of time here. And that means And that means Palacio, Genet, Margula, and Lowendick are your leading guarded, as Margula is looking for a chance at Genet, and Genet, meanwhile, is behind Palacio, who also has damage from that incident, mind you.
Surprised that Palacio is able to be going as fast as he did. He basically got sandwiched into the metal off to the left side. Instead, the fight is much more for second place. Genet, the teammate to David's, is just ahead of Margula, as you mentioned. Fyodor not close enough to attack here. James David did come into the pits. No surprise there to take his spare car. I think that Morales maybe is waiting till he's in the pit window. You can see now that we've got the timer up on screen, 36 minutes left to go. This is way too early for him to try and duck it in and only do it on a single stop.
Yeah, that's true. And maybe he's thinking he can brave it out, he can get used to it, but that can so easily go against you. However, it seems that right now he's got his pace just a little bit. And, seems to be at least it's going to be interesting to watch his lap times, but here we are on board with Margula, who suddenly finds himself in a podium fight, and not only in a podium fight, he finds himself as a shoe-in for the win, because you can see Palacio struggling in the lead a little bit. He's going wide in these corners, Genet looks like he's biding his time, and Pietro is right there in the mix.
Palacio yet to win so far this season. Maybe a little bit of nerves in there, thinking this is his best chance yet. Genet, I'm pretty sure, doesn't have one either, as he follows behind. They come around. Oh, and it's a very poor exit as we ride on board with Margula. He drops a ton of time as they return to the pit straight. What about Genet? Is this run good enough? He's about 3/10 back, but he's coming closer. The slipstream's pulling him in. Palacio not really covering him off. Genet gets down to the inside, takes the desired line away. Oh, and almost gets run into from the back with Margula, nearly making contact with Palacio. That would have been a miserable event for him to have a second run in a row down into that corner.
Yeah, but in the end, Genet pulls it off, and Palacio not defending that too much. I think he knew that he had no real chance to fend him off, because you can see how much better Genet is under braking there. He could do it on the inside, he could do it around the outside. Now the question is, how far can Genet get before Margula can pass Palacio, because Palacio's now holding him up well and truly. And you can see once again going very wide with the BMW, which isn't as good on the brakes as the Porsche is anyway. And now the straight line speed is hindered by the damage too.
Watch this fight. I was checking up some stats real quick. Interesting to note that Jean-Marc Tremblay, who unfortunately looks like he has gone backwards, despite being 5th in the points, he's only had one top 5. That's a little bit of a weird set of finishes to be able to manage that. A little bit farther ahead of him, though, we've got Christopher Richards and Brett Barrett. Barrett going the long way around and just not having enough grip, so he loses out behind them. We might see flashes of Simkovic and another little poke and a prod from Barrett to see if he could shake something out of Richards here.
Yeah, and he's really putting the pressure on, and it looks to be working. Richard is now really, conscious about his braking points. Barrett goes a little bit wide here too, and absolutely ruins his chance onto the main straight. Semkovic goes a little bit wide in sympathy and ruins his chance too. So it was a poke and a prod, and he tried to force Richards to outbrake himself, which worked out, but unfortunately Barrett wasn't able to capitalize on it. And meanwhile, gonna bring you to another point, which is that the fastest man out of the top 10 last lap was Diego Morales. So his damage, despite being severe, isn't enough to keep him away from this battle, so it could work out for him. I was wondering about it, and hands up, I was wrong. He is able to put in competitive lap times.
The commentator that says he just added lightness to the car.
Further ahead, by the way, Kenneth Rodriguez and Ted Lowendick are really close and side by side for P number 2.
Oh, and some contact. Palacio once again gets shoved around. This time off of Seat. He's very slow. And Lowendick's going to be able to close right in on him, bringing Rodrigue with him. We'll go back and look at that replay in a bit as we wait to see if Lowendick's able to do anything now that he has come within striking range out of Campsa. Doesn't look like he's got the exit he needs. So let's take another look at this. This is Margula and Palacio. They're going to come together here. This happens in Seat, so 2 turns up.
Yeah, and it's been a bit of a fight, and I think Palacios gonna miss his breaking point, make a little bit of a bubble here in the previous corner. And Margula, he's been good on the brakes all day long, and he's gonna be good into Seat as well. But look at what happens as he comes into the corner. Palacios gonna leave him the inside, and Margula's gonna take it at the very last second and then just shove him out. That was a very Formula 1 style overtake, where you just don't leave any room to the guy on the outside, and I'm sorry, I'm not a fan of that at all. So it was from Margula, it was a little bit anxious. I think he was given the position more easily than it ended up happening, but nothing Palacio could have done different there, really. And Margula inherits the second place, Palacio down to third, Lowendick down to fourth, and Kenny Rodriguez, he's in fifth place. And not only is Kenny in fifth place, he's also seeing a battle for podium out of his windshield, and he's not a lap down.
Yeah, he certainly has got himself in a great position to claim one of his best finishes this season. You know, you can say since we're in Spain that maybe drivers should always leave a space to the outside if they're battling like that. As we hop on board now.
Yeah, and on board Rodriguez, and this is certainly quite a sight he sees, because now we got a couple of surprises in this race. Not only the leaders crashing, but a bit of a messy start for a couple of guys. Palacio with damage. We're seeing whole new names taking it right to the sharp end of the field. And Ted Lowendick, as mentioned, he is in fourth place, had a great start, and a couple of guys crashing behind him as well, and he is a shoo-in for the podium. And if he makes a mistake, we got Kenny Rodriguez as well, inheriting those positions. And as said, Palacio, he's one of the fastest drivers in this field. He's been consistently right behind the championship leaders, right behind David and Morales in terms of pace, but he's got so much damage that he can't just bring that pace to the table right now. So he's holding up the pack. But kudos to Palacio in a sense that he doesn't try to desperately defend. Instead, he's giving them room and letting them make the decision, which, as much as it hurts, and it must hurt the ego of a racing driver, it is also the right call at this point in time.
The front stretch doesn't look like Lowendick is going to catch up to Palacio, and Rodriguez likewise not going to catch up to Lowendick. He talked about damage to a car and recovering. I took a peek at James David. The 89 is up to 16th currently, but again, he pitted so early. I anticipate that he will have to stop one more time. Let's keep the cameras here on this battle for third place. Palacio ahead of Lowendick and ahead of Rodriguez. Good on the brakes, though, for Rodriguez down into Repsol. Just can't quite do much with it.
Yeah, and you can see really the difference between makes there. The Porsche is so much faster on the brakes and so much better in those medium speed corners as well. And the BMW, it just got the legs on him. And especially in a battle like this, Lowendick's got the draft all the time from Palacio, so he gets the benefit of that as well. So you got BMW leading a BMW, and then Rodriguez with the Porsche on the tail end of that battle. And well, he's gonna have to do it into the corner because he can't get a good run on the straight as long as these guys don't make mistakes. So I think it settled down for a little bit, and it's also, this settling down has allowed Palacio to maybe get back to the grips with this car and start to make some decisions in a sense that, okay, when am I going to pit? When is the pit window going to be open? And when can I get that repair to my car? Because I think Palacio, despite being a little bit down on the leaders, once he gets a clean car, he's still within a shout of this race win.
A little bit of an attempt from Rodriguez.
Oh, here he comes.
Oh, yeah, you are correct. Palacio, I have to imagine that he's got quite a bit of damage that he needs to repair. So he is within that pit window at this point, comes down to the lane, gets it down to the limiter, and is just going to shuffle towards his box. Probably going to take that spare car, I would think. Let's see if it pops back into place. It This is Marks. Yes, indeed. Brand new car. So he should be able to return and have all the pace available.
Raymond Day as well opting to pit here on the first possible opportunity.
Interestingly, that Morales did not come in to pit that time through. In fact, he continues to close in on Rodriguez, has been faster for multiple laps now, and this last one was 4/10 quicker than the 969.
Yeah, they were a little bit hindered by the pace of Palacio in front of them. And meanwhile, Lowendick and Rodriguez briefly side by side out of Seat. But Lowendick holds on, so Lowendick really, he's in a position, and that's not an inviolable position, where his pace is around the positions 8, 9, and 10 normally in qualifying. And then he gets all those passes done, has a great early portion of the race, and now he's gonna look like Jarno Trolli, because he's in the mix with guys. Oh, well, I say in the mix with guys he's normally not mixing with. That's Kenny Rodriguez behind him. But Rodriguez is looking really fast, especially into those corners, because as I said, the Porsche has better brakes. So under some real pressure here for Ted.
I'm surprised at how well Kenny is putting the screws to Ted here. And as we continue to watch the wingless Morales, now we switch on board with the 969. See if he can stay right up beneath him, coming off the chicane. Yes, this is a fantastic exit. Is he too close, though? They come through the final corner. He slows up slightly. Now he's going to get the run that he probably needed. The car will creep forward with the draft of the one ahead. You would think maybe, no, Lowendick fast in a straight line and just continues to pull the whole way down.
Yeah, that's Ted Lowendick, and that's the BMW power for you. No chance there for Rodriguez to get a passing try even. 250 k's an hour for Ted Lowendick there, and just comparing that to Arnaud Genet, our race leader, who had 245 k's an hour. So Ted Lowendick 5 k's an hour faster there on the main straight, and that makes all the difference compared to Rodriguez, even though Rodriguez had the draft here. But Kenny still, he's mighty close into Seat.
I have to imagine that Morales cheering them on to try and tussle with one another out of Seat. And right on the gearbox of Lowendick, looking back at Kenny Rodriguez's nose. Porsche much tighter down into the apex there through Vert. He still, once again, is stuck behind, not really seeing any doors open, just bobbles happening from the car in front. Now he gets a chance as they speed down towards Lakaija. But he's not as close as he maybe would have wanted, and does not even tuck his nose out.
Can I get my nerd glasses on for a second, Churchill? I'm pretty sure the gearbox, excuse me, I'm pretty sure the gearbox on a BMW is not on the back of the car. Thank you very much.
My dad complains about that too when he hears me say that on air.
Yeah, because I know why you do it, because it's there in the open wheelers. It's there, even with the Porsche, it's right in there, I think. So, you know, it's a little bit of a complaint, and now somebody heard us, you know, listening to the feedback, so they can maybe be silent for a little bit once again. Yeah, Morales is in.
He took off from the back of that group, and he is going to take a slightly early pit stop to try and get that repaired. We didn't miss anything with the two that we were watching. Rodriguez and Lowendick stayed in their order. Brand new car pops into place for Morales, letting his service take place, and now he's on his way. Where is he going to come out? Maybe about 12th place here. Looks like he might get out ahead of Matthews. Yes, indeed. And in fact, he's got relatively clean air in front of him. The 22 does look like he found himself a tidy gap that he can slip into. For those wondering, David's actually only 2 positions behind him. Remember, David's already taken 1 stop, but we think he'll need another. He's up to 14th at this point.
Yeah, and for Morales, he's actually not that far behind Palacio, who's in a battle with Cristelli, and this is for position 11th and 12th. Cars number 009 and 194 there in a bit of a battle, and this is important because Morales is only a couple of seconds behind him, and Cristelli is not letting Palacio through, and why would he? this is a battle for position show, and this is what can happen with the different pit strats sometimes.
Indeed. So Palacio experiencing a little bit of frustration as they weave it down into Kamsa. Oh, but he's got an excellent exit, maybe too good. It almost looked like he was going to run into the back of Cristelli's BMW, but he narrowly avoided it. And with a swift move, Julio Palacio gets back into the top 10.
Yeah, and it was almost as if Cristelli was lifting to let him by and only realizing that he lifted too early. That's how great the difference was in the exit of those between those drivers. And meanwhile, further up front, P number 3, they are still in the mix in this battle. Lowendick and Rodriguez, as a couple of guys behind them are pitting. That's Richard and Semkovic. No need to go to it, but
Ooh,
those guys coming to the pit lane as well.
big mistake there by Lowendick down into Elf. Rodriguez finds himself going wide at Renault, and it doesn't seem like it's going to pay dividends. Maybe was trying to square off the exit of the corner, and instead he's still stuck back there in P4. You're right that we've got a slew of cars now coming in. We're getting towards the latter stages of that pit window. I think maybe just a few more minutes, maybe 5 or more minutes, and then we are at the edge of where drivers can go on that tank of fuel. Staying on the roof of Kenny Rodriguez, continuing to pressurize the 172.
Yeah, he's doing pretty well there so far, and he's still applying the pressure constantly. He's not doing any stupid or hasty moves. We haven't seen those from Kenny really at all. He's being very calm, very consistent, biding his time, knowing that his battle is not with the likes of Genet or Margula here. He's battling with Teddy, and he's biding his time with Teddy. So he's just has to concentrate on that and not mind the fact that Palacio and Morales and those guys are coming very fast, because he can't do anything about that. So he's just waiting, I think, here, and probably being a little bit frustrated, if anything, by the lack of straight line speed. So he knows he has to do it in the corners. But Teddy's doing a very good job of not making any mistakes there, and Rodriguez coming into the pit lane, and absolutely the right call here, because he can then put in a fast outlap and maybe another fast lap and leapfrog him into between the pit stops.
No doubt he's trying to think laterally here as the leapfrog strategy, just trying to take a pit early and undercut your competitor to see if he can sneak through. Hits his stall nice and tidy. What's the time going to be like, though? As it ticks up, it is actually a fairly decent one, 8.3 seconds for Rodriguez, but he's not going to be the first out because
And Palacio's going to caught him.
Yeah. Palacio, who's already taken his pit stop, is well by, and oh boy, he is going to come back in right in the midst of Cristelli. No, actually, he's ahead of them. Cristelli and Morales are battling side by side themselves right now. And is that David with them? No, that's Kenny Rodriguez, actually.
Yeah, that's Kenny Rodriguez, who just came out of the pit lane, and he's right in the midst between Morales and Cristelli. And this was not what Kenny Rodriguez wanted. We talked about fast outlap, and well, he's not getting a fast outlap if he's watching a battle for first couple of corners. But now he has a great toe at least. He has the toe of Diego Morales to try and catch up to Teddy Lowendick. But this also has dire implications for his podium hopes, because that's Morales now ahead of him. And now Teddy Lowendick, if he gets wind of that, he has to be thinking that, oh boy, well, here goes my podium too, potentially.
Incredibly, we've only had one DNF so far. Frank Kroijmans has raced. We still got 24 running. And this battle here on screen down into Lakaija, going way wide. That's Palacio. No, that's Cochran. Cochran, who is yet to stop. That may have been intentional, letting these two through.
Yeah, Mark File. I don't think that was intentional. Mark File is yet to stop too, and here we see him coming to the inside, and yeah, that's Cochran just braking way too late on the outside and having to correct his car because he was never going to make that corner, and then he had to concede, let Mark File and Palacio through, and Cochran just coming into the pit lane as well with Mark File now on the main straight and just talking to Palacio. I think he's letting him by.
Also, Barrett pitted in front of them. So he is in. Cochran's in. Barrett's actually already out, it seems, as it's a relatively decent stop. At this point now, we're waiting on Genet, Margula, Lowendick, and File. There is one more that hasn't pitted. That is Hotham, who is not really in the hunt for the win. He's down in 16th.
Yeah, and once it all settles down, I'm really curious to see what can Palacio do and what can Diego Morales also do. Meanwhile, we're looking at the leader. We haven't talked about him much. Orno Genet. He spent the season in the shadow of James David, but right now he's got his chance to shine with everybody else in the front making mistakes. His consistency is coming through. Joe, well, we both have our opinions. Can or no Shanae win this race?
Oof, I honestly think that's going to be a tough ask because I think Morales is going to wind up being fairly quick, and he's had his fresh car for a few moments now. So it might wind up seeing exactly where they come out in relation to each other to get a feel for Janae can retain the top spot. This is Morales on screen right now in the green and black car. He's rocking up behind Mark File, again, yet to stop, but also Julio Palacio, who has stopped.
Yeah, and Piotr Margula just pitted from the second place as well, and he's gonna drop well down the order. So, well, it's very interesting point in this race where we should look at the lap times. Morales last time by 156.4. He's down in seventh. Gonna get a couple of positions. Palacio 156.9. Let's see the fresh one. 56.3. Okay, that's a lot better for Palacio. Morales 55.8, half a second faster. And in comparison to the leader, Orno Genet, 156.8 last time by. So he's a second slower than Diego Morales, and he's half a second slower than Julio Palacio. But interestingly, he has a sizable lead. I'm just wondering, is it big enough?
Well, the racing god seemed to have been smiling on Morales because he managed to get out ahead of Margula in the pit stops. They actually just went by Mark File, who we're still waiting to come in. We're about 14 and a half minutes left on the clock. I know we can't see it again, but that we'll try and keep you abreast if that does not return fairly soon. Still Genet and Lowendick, the only two to pit along with, or to yet to pit along with File. And Genet's actually coming up to the pit entry fairly quickly.
Yeah, I think he has to do it soon. I mean, he's in the chicane right now. He has a lapped car in the form of Matt Odell ahead of him. Not that it matters to the decision. And he indeed does take it to the pit lane at the last possible second, trying to maximize his time there. Just a little tap of the brakes, answering your question from qualifying, Joe. And here he comes breaking to the line, being very conservative about it, losing about half a second there. But now we'll have to wait and see. I think Genet drops back to the lead or comes back to the lead in real timing. Ted Lowendick will inherit the race lead for at least one lap, but where will he be in comparison to Palacio, to Morales? That's the real question. Palacio on the main straight right now.
Just as Genet is coming out, I don't think Palacio is going to be anywhere close to him. Lowendick able to save quite a bit of fuel today. So he circulates one more time. Genet returns in second due to him waiting fairly long to try and pit. I can tell you that File also kept going past the pit entry himself. So we're down to two left at this point. Morales up to P4. Lowendick, I'm pretty sure Lowendick will come out ahead of him based on the timing that I'm seeing.
Yeah. And now I'm wondering the gap between Genet and Palacio right now, 3.5 seconds. From according to our live timing, and that does seem rather accurate because Genet is just coming out of Seat and Palacio is coming out of Seat right now, and Palacio was about half a second faster consistently before the pit stops. Morales is even faster than the both. So the way this looks to me is that Morales is gonna catch up to Palacio. Palacio might just be able to catch up to Genet, and we have a three-way fight for the race win.
And that is going to be fascinating to watch. Down into Lacaja one more time. Diego Morales and Mark File and Julio Palacio into that corner. So Lowendick, doubt he can go past this. Indeed, he immediately aims the car into the pit lane. Genet, who follows through the chicane, should be able to go on by.
Can I drop a soundbite in for our friend?
Go for it.
Ted Lowendick pitting in from the lead. Thank you.
Nicely done. Genet regains the lead, though, so it was a little bit short-lived. He's back out front. And here is this Rodriguez that we're looking on screen? Lowendick is out after Rodriguez, and it is a fairly hefty gap. Now, how about this? James David up to 7th, maybe 6th. He's got Ted Lowendick to his inside, and he gives him just enough room to get into P6. Now, unless he has an incredibly soft right foot, I do not expect him to be able to go all the way to the end of this race. We still got just about 11 minutes left to go.
Yeah, I don't think David's gonna be in the top 10 at this rate. Well, I'll have to wait and see actually. David's now 22 seconds behind the lead, 10th place. Richards 37 seconds. Oh, it's very close. And you got Richards, Tremblay, and Day as well in a bit of a back there actually. We could jump to that because it's actually quite good for 10th place. Chris Richards, Jean-Marc Tremblay, Raymond Day, all of them in a bit of a seesaw battle. Three-way fight for 10th place.
Yep, Richards at the front of the trio. Ooh, Jean-Marc Tremblay, not the best of exits out of Seat, but Day doesn't see any worth in trying to pass into Verts. Oh, in fact, he takes it in deep into that left-hander, and it climbs uphill over the crest, then towards Campsa.
And Day's made already one mistake today on the braking into that next hairpin that's coming up, and he's being very cautious as a result of that. And that earlier mistake, well, it was him being a little bit indecisive after missing his braking zone. So now he's biding his time and understandably being a little bit careful with this turn.
So Diego Morales, who is in a legitimate 3rd place, is looking at potential 2nd as he stays right up on Palacio. That's Palacio in the orange, white, and black BMW, and the green and black Porsche belongs to Morales, who we ride on board with now inside the cockpit of the number 22. He's creeping in. Car looking like it's very good here for mechanical grip around Renault. As they come into Repsol, that'll take a pretty mighty move, so he decides better of it.
Might be trying into Seat there a little bit. He has a chance to brake later, looking to the inside indeed, and deciding to just wait. He has the car right where he wants it under braking. Unfortunately, not there on the straight line. We've seen how incredible the BMW is there, but Morales needs to get it done quickly. Even though in championship contention, championship-wise, he still has the edge over James David, who's had a horrible race. But he wants to also win this, and Genet is right now a little bit faster than Palacio, so he can't afford to bide his time or wait. He has to make the move now if he wants to still run down our race leader.
Early turn-in as well there from Palacio. I think he's definitely feeling threatened as Morales just fills those mirrors around every corner. What he really needs is to try and get himself a launch out of one of these quicker corners to have that better speed. Like you keep pointing out, the BMW able to outdrag the Porsche when they get to top end, coming up to Elf, which is what they're approaching here in a second off of New Holland. This is where Morales is just kicking that engine, hoping it can get maybe something more out of it, and it is not forthcoming as he does not close in on the 194.
No, he's not. He's kicking the firewall, but the problem is that the engine is in the rear, so it's not going to do anything. That's
Getting my
that's
engines
the
all mixed up today.
downside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, through turn one more time. They stay in order. Genet, if you just joined us, is still our leader. This is the battle for second place. Margula has fallen off of this fight for the podium, back in fourth. And if you're wondering where James David is, it's a similar situation to last week where he's playing catch up and is still sitting in sixth position. But we don't expect him to stay there, as we think he'll have to take another pit stop, and this time another go down to the inside into Seat. You called it. That one worked out for Morales as he finally overtakes Palacio.
That was a great move too, very cleanly executed. And I think Palacio, by the time he noticed that there was going to be a car on the inside, yeah, he didn't fight it too hard. He tried to get a good exit in case there was a bubble from Morales, but he knew that's not the fight he wants to take. He doesn't want to lose too much time here. And you can see Morales there defending the inside from the mighty straight line speed of the Beamer. And Palacio not even making an attempt to the inside. He's not even close to wanting to fight this. He's just biding his time and waiting. And kinda, I think, wanting Morales to catch up to Genet, because that's Palacio's chance for the win here. If Morales can catch up to Genet, and he certainly has a chance, we've seen how fast he is all throughout the season, then maybe something happens and Palacio can win this. Other than that, he's looking at P number 3 again.
Yeah. Gosh. Such frustration, I'm sure, inside the number 194. Oh, hey, he's coming in. Oh, no, excuse me. I'm watching James David rather right now with a similar paint scheme on some of these cars. So David finally takes his second stop. Now we are on board with Palacio, who we were just talking about, sticking right behind Diego Morales. Only 5 minutes left. David couldn't quite eke it out. Is he going to be able to come out within the top 10? It's going to be very, very close here.
And just behind the battle.
Yep, he's going to come out in 11th. Now, they do give points for farther down than 10th place. This is an F1 scoring. They actually give them all the way back beyond what they have in this field, down to 30th if enough cars show up. But at worst, he'll get 24th, which will be 7 points, which I don't believe will be his drop, as he does have a no score this season.
Yeah, so serious championship implications here, as Day and Richards are actually fighting side by side right in front of David, and that could give David a couple of positions if he can catch up to them. This is a battle that's been going on for a while, but this time Richards managing to defend down the inside. And yeah, great battles going on all around the track, and this is really poising to be a grandstand finish here, especially between these guys. Once again, Day gets a better exit, and Richards makes a mistake, and he goes clean through. And next up, James David.
Goes off in the dirt, and he holds on to it. So Richards, unfortunately, slotted into 10th. David enjoying that, probably hoping that he could maybe make something of it and get by quickly in these last couple minutes. What, about 2 or 3 laps to go? 2 laps to go, it seems.
Yeah, I think so. 2 laps to go with these guys. And well, in this battle, we got David, we got Richards, and we got a pro driver.
So as they work their way through the chicane, Day leads the train of 3 off the corner, gets his nose into New Holland, but it looks like it pinches him slightly. Doesn't matter. Still finds the run off the final corner, and James David now back into the top 10.
So far, let's see how good of a run Richards can get with his BMW tow into turn number 1. And will he try to the inside? He looks at it, but no. David much better on the braking, and as a result of that, yeah, as you said, back on the top 10, and he's looking at 8 and 9 potentially here with 2 laps to go. Tremblay and Day are still within his grasp, but still not the point score David wanted from today.
They separate slightly. Genet, who is our leader, is got about a lap and a half to go. And this will be his first win of the season, but only his 3rd top 5, even though We are in round 9 today. That's if he stays where he is.
Yeah, he's been a consistent force all throughout the season in the upper end of the mid pack. Right behind Palacios been running away, and of course the top two have been running away, and then Gené's been right in the mix, fifth, sixth, seventh place, all around those positions. He's been a consistent force in the top 10. But this is really the best race he's run so far. Not only because he's leading this and in fact coming to the white flag right now, but also because he's been able to beat guys like Diego Morales, like Julio Palacio, and also his usual mid-pack contenders like Margula and those guys. He's been able to hold them well back, and just one lap to go, and he achieves what surely must be quite an awesome result for him in terms of feelings and confidence as well.
Finish first. First, you must finish, is the old racing adage.
Or
Janae,
be
hold on to
finished.
that one. I've heard that version as well, and it's just about as true as Arnaud comes around Repsol. Morales, what was that last lap? 56.6 for Morales versus a 56.9, about 3/10 faster. Too little too late, though, and lap traffic also kind of getting in the way of our current championship leader, who should retain that points lead at this point. He just got on the radio. I couldn't tell if he was upset by that or if that was a thank you.
I think he was a little bit upset because Matt O'Dell didn't communicate it clearly enough. He waited at the racing line and then he just kept going straight. And I think Morales was called out by that. But I don't think Morales was too angry about it. Just, giving him a mental note, maybe.
James David has been the Canadian so far this season who has racked up more of the wins. But I think he's about to be joined by one of his fellow countrymen, because with just 3 corners left to go, 4 corners, I should say, for Arnaud Genet down through Europe car and into the RACC chicane. All he has to do is be smooth on the power, and he is. Genet takes victory here in Barcelona, his first win of this season.
Yeah, awesome result, joined the podium by Morales and Palacio. Meanwhile, 8th place is still getting better and better. 927 Jean-Marc Tremblay ahead of Raymond Day and ahead of James David as well. They come to the final corners, and I still can't tell who's going to finish 8th here, Joe.
All it's going to take is one little bobble. Jean-Marc Tremblay up at the front, who we ride on board with, looking back at Day and David. Is David going to be able to get by? He tries it, but it's just not to be. So they are going to finish in order. Tremblay in 8th, Day 9th, and David only good enough for P10. Wow.
That's certainly a surprise here, Joe, as we watch the rest of these guys come across the line. Certainly a surprising race and certainly a surprising evening full of racing action. And I'm sure we're going to talk about it more once we get back.
Certainly will. We're going to take a quick break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around, because on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Barcelona. Round 9 in the PRL GT4 Clubsport Series had some big implications, just like last week. Who would have thought a few rounds ago that would be the situation that we're in, where Arnaud Genet took a maiden win, a very well-deserved win, and Diego Morales finished behind him in second, but extended his points lead by a huge gap over his main rival. Julio Palacio came home, guess where? In third once again. Piotr Margula was fourth today, and Kenny Rodriguez with a P5. Ted Lowendick climbed up to sixth, and Brett Barrett 15th to 7th today. Not too shabby. Jean-Marc Tremblay held off all comers for an 8th place, and Raymond Day was 9th, falling a little bit backwards. James David really falling backwards. He has lost a big chunk of points to Diego Morales by finishing 10th today.
Yep, and the next 4 drivers started exactly where they finished. Chris Richards, Spencer Semkovich, Mark File, and Sean Cochrane. Burn Daly 15, Brian Hodham 16th, ahead of another Brian Matthews in 17th, Philip McNunn 18th, Gary Schilling 19th, also the last driver on the lead lap with David Cristelli, Matt Odell, Aaron Law, and Sean Fox finishing 1 lap down. 2 drivers retired out of this event, Glenn Bowen and Frank Kroijmans, in your 25 driver field.
Talk to our second place finisher and still points leader in this series, Diego Morales. Diego, I have to admit, you seemed like a bit of an innocent victim in that wreck early on. Have you had a chance to go back and see what exactly happened, or are you still kind of confused?
Yeah, I look at the replay now. It seems that I made like a really late move to cover the inside, and I think that James didn't see Julio on the outside. Yeah, I don't know. I might be my fault, but I'm not quite sure. Not the way that I wanted that race to end for sure. But yeah, apologies for James if he thinks that I'm faulty there. But seriously, it was not intentional at all. I was trying just to cover the inside because I know that he had a good run on the inside. Yeah, but good race overall, good recover. Yeah, sad about the incidents.
Got so focused on the fact that he weaved, we didn't notice that he may have weaved in reaction to what you were doing. So we'll see what the stewards say in the end from that. But definitely a critical moment here in the championship, because now you find yourself going into the final round, the 10th round, with an immense points lead. But you did mention that you don't particularly like Detroit. I think we talked about at one point. So are the nerves still there? Is it still kind of like nothing safe?
Yeah, that track's not nothing safe at all, and that's why I was like fighting so hard here to keep the leads, because I knew that that track is quite hard to get it right, and there will be a lot of training this weekend, this week for that race. But I wanted really to get the win on this one, so that's why um, how can I say, wanted to get that victory.
Last question before we let you go. Speaking of victories, you now claimed pole number 5 today. So half of the season already, no matter what. I have to imagine that's probably going to come in handy in a week's time.
Yeah, for sure. I had good pace for qualifying the season overall. Made some mistakes on some races. But overall, I think that qualifies my strongest points. I think that James is really good at like the long runs. So it's hard to keep him behind. Yeah, let's see how it ends.
I'm sure we certainly want to see how it ends just as much as you. Again, congratulations on a podium, and can't wait to see you at the finale.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Diego Morales, who is kind of pragmatic about today and always eyes on the prize. Next up, though, is Ozzy talking to a man who is maybe getting a little bit bored of finishing third here.
Yes, Julio Palacio. How many of those bronze medals do you want to collect on your trophy case?
Let me tell you guys, as you saw, I tried real hard to get up there, to stay up there. And it was just one of those things. And I knew at the end there, Diego had a little bit more pace. And it was just like, I just wanted to bring it home.
So, of course, the talking point of today, contact between the two championship leaders. You had a grandstand, you had a front seat to that. What happened in your opinion?
Yeah, I was just looking at the replay now. I think what really happened is I don't think James saw that I was there. I was kind of next to him and he went to the outside and he just, we just pinched and I got into the wall and then I hit him. And then I think as part of the braking, we ended up hitting Diego. So it was like in one fell swoop there, we had the top three basically out. And then I was able to recover, but I quickly realized that my car was damaged and I had no straightaway speed, which is really the only way to stay, close with the BMW. So it was just very, very tight racing there.
Yeah, it was very tight, but thankfully you were able to finish in the podium as well and claim your own position, really. So Detroit coming up next week, the championship finale. Now, of course, in the championship, you're looking at the bronze medal too. But how are you looking for Detroit? Do you like it, hate it, indifferent?
Yeah, I mean it's a very interesting track, right? I mean those street courses, there really isn't a lot of room for error, so it's going to have to be even tighter than what this race was. So we're just going to have to be careful. We're going to have to be lucky. I think luck is a huge thing. And just as people run through it, I mean it's a fantastic track. I don't think there's too many places for passing, so qual is going to be very important. But I know it's going to be a lot of fun and exciting, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make it as exciting as possible for everybody.
Well, we certainly hope for a good show. Thank you, Julio, and good luck next week.
Thank all of you. I really appreciate, and thanks to everyone, and thanks to all the sponsors.
Indeed, thanks to all of them. And Joe, well, it was another interesting race at Barcelona, and now all we can do is look forward to the championship finale.
Absolutely. And I do see that our winner has shown up here. Just checking, see if we can get him in quick. So we do have Arnaud Genet that we're pulling in. And congratulations, Arnaud, your first win of the season. I'm sure, everybody always says sometimes luck is a part of racing, but I can't imagine you'll turn this one down.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was kind of sad to see my teammate having such a big accident on lap 3, I think. And I think Morales has also had a spin. So yeah, it was up for grabs. And I was really nervous. This is not the kind of racing I'm used to. I'm kind of used to follow my teammates and follow along. 4th, 5th place. I've been doing pretty well lately, but yeah, this is very, very exciting for me to grab that win. And of course, at the end, I was threatened by Morales. I think Julio was in his way for a couple of laps, so that gave me the breathing space, enough breathing space so I could win quite easily, if I can say that. I'm enjoying it every second of it.
Oh, I'm sure that's got to feel good to finally be on the top step, considering how much it has been hogged by Morales and David. Now, next round, we're heading to Detroit. Can you carry this on? Maybe try and survive? Will others fall by the wayside?
Yeah, I wish. I really wish. I'm gonna work hard this week so I can at least survive. Detroit is pretty hard. Those tight corners and of course those concrete walls are not forgiving at all. So I'm gonna practice hard, play with my teammate as well, learn from him, and I'm gonna try for at least a podium to finish well this season.
Something to gain from those around you, but of course, again, congratulations. Before we let you go, and as a parting thank you, is there anybody you want to thank or credit for this win today?
Well, of course, every sponsor of the league, you guys doing an amazing job. ButtKicker and SimRacing Canada, you guys doing a marvelous job, and of course PRL for putting that kind of all that kind of drivers all together. the level is very high this year for this summer. So I'm very glad I could be part of it.
Some stuff. We've certainly enjoyed covering it. And that was our winner, Arnaud Genet, who took the victory today. We do have some people we want to thank as well. Of course, the sponsors in this series, NinjaTrader, who can be found at NinjaTrader.com. And of course, SimRacing Canada, a new one this season for the GT4 Clubsport Series. They can be found at SimRacingCanada.com. And finally, ButtKicker. They are at thebuttkicker.com. Make sure and check out our ad page here on GSRC.com because we have over 1 million global monthly impressions on our channel. So if you want to advertise, this could be the place for you. Again, we have a link in the description below if you want to check that out. Thanks to the companies that provide our software and hardware for our broadcasts are listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lawn, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen, proud to get a hold of more of her work. And thanks to the team today, Ozzy, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, our social media is constantly active. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel. Facebook is Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_RAM. And we've got a merchandise store linked in that description. You just click that if you want to go check that out, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. The next race, as we mentioned, going to be Detroit. That'll be Tuesday, August 17th for the finale at 9 p.m. Eastern for this season. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. Check those out and mark them down on your calendar, but stick around because the Porsche Owners Club is coming up in less than a half hour's time at Virginia International Raceway. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.